Boys and girls, today get out this organizer. It's another organizer to help us ask questions. Scholarly friends, when we read, we ask questions. We should ask questions before we start reading. We should ask questions in the middle of the time that we're reading. And we should ask questions when we're done. Because the more we ask questions, the more engaged we are, the more interested we are, the more we learn, right? So asking questions when you're reading is super important. So some of the questions we're going to ask are, who is the story about? When does the story take place? Where does the story take place? What happens in the story? Why do the events happen? How do the events happen? So today we're going to ask questions in the middle. So watch and see, okay? I'll be stopping and asking questions as we go along to answer these questions right in the middle of our story. And sometimes that's kind of disrupting, but usually you can do it really quickly and then we can move on, okay? Let's get to my share screen. Here we go. My story today is called Tacky in Trouble by Helen Lester, illustrated by Lynn Munsinger. And we are going to look at Tacky in Trouble. We're going to figure out right away that Tacky is the penguin. So Tacky's a penguin. Why is there an elephant in the picture? What is Tacky doing on the back of the cover? Let's see, he's like jumping on the elephant and doing flips. And the elephant doesn't look too happy, does he? And penguin looks super happy, Tacky does. So let's find out about this story. So right away, we could ask the question, who is the story about? And I bet we could come up with a pretty good answer, right? The story is about who? Tacky, right? Tacky the penguin. So go ahead and take your paper and grab a pen here. Don't forget to write your name at the top. And we're going to say, who is the story about? We're going to say Tacky. And sometimes organizers don't really lend themselves to writing full sentences. This one, we're just going to write the quick answer and not write the full sentence. So we're going to say Tacky the penguin. Okay, I'm going to write Tacky the penguin like I did. Dot right there, I can't see it very good. Okay, and some of the questions might be hard to answer, like when does the story take place? So let's find out if we can be able to answer some of these questions with our story about Tacky in Trouble. As goodly, lovely, angel, neatly, and perfect sang sunrise on the iceberg. The sun rose on the iceberg. They felt very much in charge. What's happening? Glared Tacky the penguin, greeting each of his companions with a hearty slap on the back. After breakfast, the penguins went about their morning activities. So what do we know about our main character? He's not like the other penguins, is he? Right? Did you notice I asked a question and it helped us understand the story a little bit better? If you look down here at this one, it doesn't talk about this picture. So you just have to look at the picture. We got one penguin that's stacking all the cubes up nicely. And then we have Tacky who's trying to do kind of the same thing. He's stacking ice cubes, but none of the ice cubes are the same. And is he going to be successful at putting this great big ice cube on top of that little tiny ice cube? It doesn't tell us. Whether they were ice block building, napkin folding, feather combing, or ballroom dancing, Tacky was the odd bird. Then it was nap time. Nap time for all, that is, but Tacky What a great day for surfing, he cried. Would that be fun or what? It would be what, said goodly, lovely angel, neatly and perfect. Go surfing if you must, but please do it quietly. So Tacky took off alone and coasted over the waves. Suddenly the wind came up, filled his shirt like a sail, and found himself blowing full speed ahead out to sea. He loved the spray on his beak and the thrill of the ride. On he sailed, and on through the sunny day and starlit night. By the time he finally reached land, he was standing on tippy webs on an ice cube. With a little heart beating in excitement, Tacky wallowed ashore, ready for an adventure. After being greeted by the strangest penguin he'd ever seen, he came upon a large gray rock. How nice! He had lots of rocks at home. Funny, thought Tacky, this rock is warm. The rock he knew were cold. And it's a little squishy. The rocks he knew were very hard and sort of hairy. Hairy? He couldn't remember any hairy rocks back on the iceberg. So he was looking at this great big gray rock. Tacky never could sit still for long, so he did the little rock hopping dance he'd always enjoyed doing at home. I don't need shoes and I don't need socks, just my mellow yellow feet for hopping on the rocks. Hey, I don't need shoes and I don't need socks, just my mellow yellow feet for hopping on the rocks. Hey, I don't. And then he stopped right then, and his eyes met the eyes of an. Suddenly the rock rose up, and a voice louder than any penguin's, a voice louder than even Tacky's, boomed, "Something's tickling my back." Before Tacky could ask what's happening, the rock, whose name happened to be Rocky, grabbed him, and they were crashing through the jungle. Tacky loved adventures, but was this fun or what? He wasn't sure. Finally, Rocky came to a very gray clearing, plunked Tacky down, and bellowed, "Flowers for my table?" While Tacky was puzzled, Rocky was overjoyed, for she had taken one look at Tacky's shirt and was convinced she had brought home the most beautiful bunch of flowers in the world. Yes, indeed, just what I need to brighten up this dreary old place. Let's see. I'll need a wide vase. It's a gorgeous bunch of flowers, but pretty thick around the stem area. After choosing her widest vase, Rocky plopped Tacky in, and he looked around. The table was set for dinner with ketchup and lemon pie and grape punch and gravy and mustard and marmalade and peanut butter and lots of other good things. Rocky glumped gleefully around the table singing, "Flowers make all the difference. Flowers make all the difference." Let's stop for just a second. So it's hard to tell when this takes place. We could say that it takes place, where it takes place though. Where does this story mostly take place? Was it mostly on an island? Yeah, he'd gotten away from his Arctic and gotten to an island, right? And so I would even call it a tropical island, right? So we'll say a tropical island. And we could add something here, Tacky the Penguin and who else? Rocky. If you have room, you can put Rocky the elephant. So he landed on a tropical island, and now he's getting to know this funny elephant. Let's keep reading. I'm not a bunch of flowers, said Tacky. Say what? Rocky trumpeted. Of course you're a bunch of flowers. Don't be silly. She sniffed Tacky. You smell lovely too. Thank you, said Tacky, but I'm not a bunch of flowers. I'm a penguin. Rocky eyed Tacky suspiciously. What's a penguin? Some sort of weird plant? No, offered Tacky. It's a kind of a bird. A bird, snorted Rocky. What a hoot! You're not like any bird I've ever seen. Tacky felt his neck feathers prickly uncomfortably. I'm really, honestly, truly a penguin, he repeated. Rocky did not want to hear this. She wanted flowers. She needed those flowers, and her dull gray home needed those flowers. If you're a penguin, prove it, Rocky demanded. Then she reached out. Whoosh, she snatched Tacky's shirt. At least I'm keeping this pretty blossom no matter what. Well, unless you can convince me you're a penguin. Tacky knew he was in trouble now. His shirt was his sail, and without his shirt, how would he get home? Would he ever get to see goodly, lovely Angel neatly and perfect again? Hurry up. Now, I'm hungry and I don't have all day, snapped Rocky impatiently. Prove you're a penguin. Do something penguinish. Tacky thought very hard. He just had to show her. Oh, yes, he remembered penguins march. He began 1, 2, 3, but he stepped on the catch-up bowl without knowing it and continued marching over the table. 5, 6, 5, 17, 100. What else? Asked Rocky. Penguin's belly slide. Tacky got a running start, skidded across the lemon pie, and swished a swirl over the tablecloth. Where was the lemon smell coming from? Go on, ordered Rocky. Penguins dive. Rocky took a bounding leap up and did a splash cannonball into the pitcher of grape punch. Refreshing. More confused than convinced, Rocky asked, and keep going. What else? What else could a penguin do? He remembered what he'd gotten him into the situation in the first place, and he said, well, penguins are excellent hoppers. Bravely tilting his beak up in his best proper hopping form, he hopped in the gravy and hopped on the cloth. And he hopped in the mustard and hopped on the cloth, and he hopped in the marmalade and he hopped on the cloth, and he hopped in the peanut butter. And stop! The tablecloths all covered in all these different colors. Then he waddled stickily over to Rocky. See, he shrugged hopefully, I'm a penguin. Rocky looked at her red, yellow, purple, brown, orange, and tan tablecloth and bellowed, what have you done to my tablecloth? Tacky froze. He'd been having fun doing penguin things and hadn't even realized he'd made a mess. Uh-oh, he thought, I'm stuck here forever. I'll never get home to my iceberg. My tablecloth, hooted Rocky. I love it. I simply love it. Look at those colors. They're brilliant. They're beautiful. And they're so much prettier than your blossoms. No offense. Here you go, you wonderful, odd, whatever you are. With that, she picked up Tacky's shirt and flipped it to him. She also threw him a hot dog, a cookie, and 3 kisses. Thank you, she trumpeted as Tacky waved goodbye and set out for the water's edge. He leapt on a log thinking, I didn't know ice blocks came in brown. And as his shirt caught the wind, he set sail. Meanwhile, back on the iceberg, goodly, lovely, Angel, neatly, and perfect were singing Sunrise on the Iceberg. The sun rose, but they didn't feel in charge. Life just hadn't been the same without Tacky. Everything was orderly, and they were tired of patting each other on the back and whisper what's happening, because nothing was happening. Then they saw the speck in a distance. Could it be as the speck came closer and closer, they could see it was Tacky? Goodly, lovely angel, neatly and perfect, hugged Tacky. Tacky was an odd bird, but a nice bird to have around. And many miles away, an elephant sat by her colorful tablecloth and thought the same thing. All right. So let's go back to our answering questions. So it happened both two places really, didn't it? Where does the story take place? On a tropical island and on an iceberg. What happened in this story? Well, Tacky went on an adventure, didn't he? Tacky had an adventure. Why do the events happen? Because Tacky is an odd penguin. And how do the events happen? Well, I'm going to let you figure that one out. How do the events happen? That's kind of a hard question to answer, actually, isn't it? Because they just happen because of the choices that Tacky made, right? How do the events happen? They happen because Tacky, we could say because of, put it of there, of Tacky's choices, right? And it's not a whole sentence. Sorry, I didn't mean to put a period there. Okay. So when we read stories with questions in mind, we get a lot smarter about what the story is, and we remember it better, right? And you don't have to answer this one here up here where it says, when does the story take place? Okay. All right. Thank you, friends. Hope you enjoyed the story.